Welcome to Divorce and Relationships Decoded, the show that takes the guesswork out of love, loss, and everything in between. Hosted by me, Jennifer Perri, a CDC-certified divorce and empowerment coach, and Dr. Deborah Wilder, a divorce and relationship expert. This is the place where real conversations meet expert advice. So get ready to decode divorce and relationships like never before. Divorce and Relationships Decoded starts now. Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Divorce and Relationships Decoded. I am one of your hosts, Jennifer Perri. I am a CDC certified divorce coach and empowerment coach, and I am joined by my dear friend, Dr. Deborah Wilder, who is a divorce and relationship specialist. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really well. I'm just going to let everybody know if you happen to hear any banging in the background. We had a really big storm that came through this weekend that caused a mini flood in my foyer. I apologize if you hear any of that hammering and banging around, but that was my weekend. Today, we're going to talk about something that I love talking about. I like anything that builds up into wonderfulness. And today we're going to talk about what are some small habits or things that can build long-lasting love and why it's so important to do the small things. And I think it's a great topic. Thank you so much for bringing it to the conversation. And I'm going to throw it over to you first. What do you think are some little habits or little acts of kindness or love that you can do that you really see stack up into something beautiful?
So I'm a big believer in, I think we've all heard the expression, little things mean a lot. And we've probably all heard, I'd take a bullet for you. I think in relationships, most people would prefer the little things than
taking the bullet.
Taking a bullet. So it's those little things that really do mean a lot. Whether it's preparing a cup of coffee for your spouse, or just a little hug as you're walking by, or a little tap on the shoulder, or any kind of little thing, nothing that takes too much time, but it's effort. And it's a demonstration of caring, putting a little Post-it note in your child's backpack or your spouse's lunch bag, or these are things. It doesn't have to just be spouse or partner, but the little bitty things that I remember years ago, one of the houses we lived in, my daughter's room was the coldest one in the house during the colder months. So I remember before she would get into bed, I'd put her comforter in the dryer for 5 minutes. So she'd go to bed, I'd get the comforter out, and it was all toasty warm. I'd put it on her, we would snuggle. But that was one of those things that we had heat in the house. Don't get me wrong. Heat in the house. It's just her room was colder. And that was one of those things that I probably loved more than she did, because I knew it was something that would make her feel good or feel better. And so that was a little thing. It took 5 minutes to do. Or again, if you're making a cup of coffee for yourself, can you pour one for your spouse? Those little things really can mean a lot. Maybe a text during the day. Again, something that it takes effort, and it's something that is intentioned in a positive way, but not like a big grand gesture. The grand gestures are fine too. Going out to dinner, not that there's a grand gesture, but taking someone on a date or getting some flowers or things. Those are some nice things as well, but they're little things that really can mean a lot. And I know that when I work with couples, a lot of times I'll make the suggestion that each partner comes up with a list of maybe 5 things that if the other partner did for them, little things, they'd appreciate it. And much of the time, neither one is really interested in doing anything for the other person. So it's artificial, meaning the intention isn't necessarily there because you want your partner to feel. It hasn't become a positive intention. At that point, it's an exercise. But a lot of times, just the act of doing something nice for somebody else feels good enough. That action or the intention becomes more positive, if that makes sense. Even though it's a homework assignment, when you get to pick from their list, if it's turn the lights off, if you're the last one up, will you turn the lights off so I don't have to go downstairs and make sure the lights are off? Or whatever things like that might be. So sometimes it starts off in, let's say if you're working with couples or you're in therapy yourself, in couples therapy, some homework might be, think of 5 little things that would make your life a little bit easier, that you'd appreciate, that you would like for your partner to do, and he or she will come up with a list as well. And you get to pick on a daily basis something that you might do. And again, even if it's assigned and it's not a natural thing, when you do something over and over again, it can become more natural, and it can become something special, and you're building up goodwill, even though you're supposed to, because it's homework. There's still a positive return on that if you're consistent with that. And at some point it's appreciated. And then hopefully that will build some more of those caring and loving and nice feelings. Again, we're not talking about grand gestures. It's those little things that take a minimal amount of time and effort, but the return on the investment is significant. What do you think?
I am totally a little things mean a lot, like totally. And that was again communicating with my husband about that being more important to me than the big things.
Yeah.
Because his love for me is just huge, that he wants to do big things, big trips, big this, big that, which I appreciate every effort and everything that he does. So if he's listening this, understand that I appreciate all of that. But it really is the small things. And I think more than anything, what has impressed me about my husband is that he listens to everything that I say. And every once in a while, he'll give me something and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. He's like, yeah, I remember you had said that you wanted this, or this would make this easier. It's just paying attention to that he listened to that, because I can text, but it's sometimes not pretty, especially if my hands aren't working that day. So he had bought me, when I was in the hospital, he had bought me these stylus that have a round disc on them, so I could see the letters as I was typing. And I still use them. I use them when I have to, when I'm having a really hard time texting. But every time I use it, I think of the fact that he bought them for me, because at that point I was doing occupational therapy with really small things and I couldn't really hold a pen. And he was like, this will be where you're working what you need to do to build your strength, but you can still communicate with people that are asking how you're doing. So it was thinking of those little things. And Christmas, my favorite part of Christmas is the stocking. It always has been. All the little stuff that goes in the stocking, birthdays, holidays. I would rather have a card that you wrote a note in. And my sons and my husband are all on this, let's see who can make her cry first, because I'm a very sensitive person. So they'll put these beautiful messages in there, and then they talk about the things that matter to them. Like my one son and I go on coffee dates all the time. He talks about looking forward to more coffee dates. And so you look at how the little things that you do on every day affect the people around you. And it's also a very good thing to listen as a partner too, because there was a story that I had heard, and it was a long time ago, about a woman that continuously asked her husband to change the light bulb at their back door. And he kept saying, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. And then she filed for divorce. And he couldn't believe that it was over a light bulb. She said, it wasn't over the light bulb. It was over that you didn't care enough about me and my safety. You didn't hear what I was trying to say about what my concern was. You didn't hear, she said, and I just thought, this isn't somebody who truly loves me. He can't do something as minor as changing a light bulb. So that was a very profound thing for me to think about too. As a person looking at relationships, I absolutely think that the small things have way more power and significance over the large. That's just my opinion. Now, I don't mind a grand gesture every once in a while. I am a very small thing. And I think I'm also a very big fan of stackable habits and atomic habits, and that James Clear talks about and wrote about. And if you're doing that with the little things in a relationship, no matter what that relationship is or who it's with, it's going to strengthen it. But I am totally a little thing person.
And it's easy to do. That's the thing. It's so easy to do. If you're at the grocery store and you notice, just as you were saying before, if your partner likes a certain, I don't know, cereal. I know cereal can be expensive these days. Some cereal can be really ridiculously expensive. The low carb cereal can be $7 or $8 a box. But anyway, you don't have to do that. But even at the grocery store, just a little something, or instead of a bouquet of flowers, you get one flower. It doesn't even have to be a rose. Just something. As you were saying, handwritten notes are wonderful.
That gets me, and I have them I have them in this box. They're like my precious guarded, like if the house ever burnt down, grab my kids, grab my husband, grab my dogs, grab those notes. My one son, Justin, literally over the course of a year had this little book, and every month he wrote me a
Mm,
letter. Even when I open it today, I will cry my eyes out
mm.
because he intentionally, and it wasn't like he went back and did it because I was like, oh, let me see if he did. Did he really do this? But it was as we were in the moment and things were happening. Like he would point out how good it made him feel or how proud of me he was. It's probably one of my most prized possessions because I was such an important motivator in his life to say, I want to write a year's worth of letters to my mom.
Wow.
And my oldest son, Jeremiah, as he got older and I would send him notes to school with his lunch, he stopped writing I love you because you don't want like his other friends going, oh, did mommy send you a note that says I love you? So I just started putting ILY for I love you. And that was his daughter's name. And
Oh,
that it's the little tiny things that I
wow.
have tried to pass down. Because there was a period of my life when my first marriage was over and I had my two boys at that time.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford a lot. We would go to the dollar store and they each got to pick up something. The dollar stores still hold such good memories because in my mind I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get anything for my kids. I can't tell you how many dollar store Christmases we had, but it holds such great memories for them that we will still go into dollar stores and we talk about stuff and we'll buy like a candy or we go to Five Below because we've upgraded ourselves to $5 instead of $1.25. But it's those little memories that sometimes you don't think mean a lot to people. They are so significant to me and very significant to my family. It doesn't have to be something big.
Absolutely. I love the dollar store and I love
I
Five
love it.
Below.
Yes.
All those things. And because they're great to go into again, they're the little things mean so much. Not just to say, oh, there's something for $1. Let me get that as something. No, not just to get something, but something that is a little pick me up. But yeah, the Dollar Tree or dollar stores are great because they always have something that can be useful or thoughtful. If someone loves puzzles or games, just to get a little puzzle or a little game or just deck of cards or just something which allows you to spend some time together or do something fun together. But again, those little things mean a lot. And the other side of that coin, you probably heard of death by 1,000 cuts. The opposite is true. Those little jabs, the little negative stuff, the little things that take away, those are the killers. It's those little things that mean a lot. The opposite side of the coin is the other, the death by 1,000 cuts. So it's easy to do. And if you are interested in strengthening your relationship, start to incorporate some more of those little things. That doesn't mean you have to do 5 things a day, but even if you picked up one thing a day, if you know that your spouse would really appreciate it if maybe you made the bed a couple of mornings a week, or you turned down the bed at night, or you put, I don't know, just made a cup of coffee, or if you're going to cook breakfast for yourself, maybe you could just cook a little extra for your spouse as well, or leave a little note on a sticky pad. Or again, if you're walking by, a little hug, or just a tap on the shoulder, or just, I'm happy to see you when you come home from work, or I hope you have a great day. Just those little things carry a lot of weight. And as you were saying with your son, whose compilation of notes to you, any one of those, I'm sure, would have affected you and brought you, but the whole thing to have really, that's, to me, that's more of making something grand out of a bunch of little things. But that's, I think that would touch anybody.
I have wonderful sons and they're very expressive,
Yeah.
but this particular son isn't as verbally expressive as my others are. But when he is, man, that's it. It just hits you in the chest. But I wanted to say something too. When my husband does anything for me, no matter how big or small it is, I appreciate it. And I tell him. So I'm the one that takes care of the dogs all the time. I'm the one that every morning my mom's raised me to be a Proverbs 31 woman, and I'm up first. I have his coffee ready. If he's traveling, I have his coffee in his thermos. I have all this stuff pulled out. Like I love my husband. So that's the way I show up in our relationship. And I love doing that. But if there's a morning, he'll get up before me and he makes my coffee, or he'll get up and before I have a chance to make the bed, he makes the bed. Or if he goes out and he pulls out the food first to feed the dogs, I make a big deal out of it because it matters to me that he is stepping in and trying to help. So of course I make a big deal of it. You have to be appreciative of that because they're trying. They're thinking of you while they're doing something. And if you're not acknowledging it, then are they going to continue to do it? So just be really mindful of that too. You're supposed to be thankful of even the little things.
Yeah, expressing gratitude, because that positive feedback, that's what keeps people going, I think, a lot of the time. So not to take it for granted. And it's interesting too, along those same lines, maybe paying more attention to what your partner does, or what the little things that you may do for your partner or for your children or for your parents or friends. Just pay attention to what is around you a little bit more. Maybe you notice something that you never really noticed before. Maybe your partner is doing more things that you really haven't noticed before. But even if it's assigned, even if it's not necessarily a natural thing at this point, and it's maybe assigned for homework, if you're in couples therapy or anything like that, the more that we can extend ourselves to other people in those little ways, people who mean something to us, the better we feel. I think the statement, it's better to give than to receive, I think oftentimes it feels better to give than to receive. Receiving is nice, but being able to provide that good feeling to someone else, again, makes all the difference in the world. And so that's what we're talking about, those little things. Again, if you're walking in the door or I'm glad to see you, or I hope you have a great day, or tell me a little bit about your day. Take a moment. Time is also one of those gifts to be able to give. And I know we've talked about the love languages, and this sort of gets into that, but maybe on a little bit of a smaller scale. Just some little things, again, that mean a lot. So I'm glad that we're talking about this.
I am too. And as we get ready to wrap up today, when you have clients that are working with you in couples therapy, and this is homework at first, do you see where they really start to embrace it and then it no longer becomes homework, it's now habit? You see that it works more than it doesn't work?
If people are consistently doing it.
Yeah.
If they are consistent, it's going to take more than a couple of days. But
Right.
At first there can be resentment. I don't want to do this for this person. I do not want to. Like, this person has caused me. And this isn't a blanket kind of homework assignment, but based on the circumstances and what they're going through and their particular issues. But it is something that needs to be practiced, like exercise or weightlifting or whatever. The change isn't just going to happen. The change in attitude isn't just going to happen. But yes, so people have to be consistent, though. If it's not done consistently, it may not have the same effect. But if you do it consistently, eventually it becomes more comfortable. And then your spouse may be curious and look forward to what you're going to do. And then you might be curious about what that person's going to do too. Yes, it absolutely can. If it's done with the proper intentions and if it's done consistently, then it can really become something positive because you're decreasing the resentment and you're building up the goodwill at the same time.
This was another great conversation. There are a lot of people who listen to this and maybe going through divorce, or maybe they're struggling and they're not really sure what's going on with their relationship. And if you're in that spot and you're with somebody who you're really just having a hard time with right now, or you're not really sure where you want to be, try incorporating something like this. Even if you're at odds, if the person and the relationship is something that's worth fighting for, I think that sometimes we wait. I made the last move. They've got to do it. Sometimes you have to be the one that extends that.
Yeah.
You have to be the one that takes that first step. So if you're listening and you're in that space today, just take that first step. It may be hard at first. It may feel like homework, but I think that if you are the one that initiates that, you might be surprised what happens back on the other side.
I think you've just brought up a great point. If the relationship is very much a one-way relationship, there's nothing wrong with trying something like that. But if you're the only one who consistently is giving, then we're dealing with something a little bit differently. If two people are interested in doing something like that's great. If it's only one person and the other person's more like a sponge and doesn't, not that it's keeping score, as you were saying before. If the relationship is extremely or very asymmetrical or very unbalanced, there are different challenges there. If you want to improve your relationship, those little things can mean a lot. But if you're the one who's constantly doing, and you haven't let your partner know that you would appreciate some of those little things as well, that makes a difference. If you've already said that to your partner, these are things that I would appreciate if you did. That would make me feel better, and that partner chooses not to do any of that consistently or any of that at all, then we're dealing with something a little bit different. But these little things can make a big impact.
I know they have in my life. Thank you again for another wonderful conversation. It's always great to spend time talking with you. And we will be back with our question of the week and another episode on Friday. So bye, everyone.
Bye.
That's a wrap for this episode of Divorce and Relationships Decoded. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and empowering. If this conversation resonated with you, we'd love for you to share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Remember, healing, growth, and transformation happens one conversation at a time. If you have a question, a story, or a topic you'd love for us to explore, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at questions@drdecoded.com. Your thoughts and experiences are always welcome here. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another insightful episode of Divorce and Relationships Decoded. Until then, take care and keep moving forward.